Hi. Just give me a minute to get a bit organized. Meditation's coming. I just need to get this table a bit closer. Good. If you are on Facebook, I'm going to have to stop and come back. I will be back, so if you could bear with me, I'm going to turn you off and turn you on again. If you are on Instagram and you want to know when the meditations are on, you might want to follow on YouTube, because I've been told that, if you subscribe on YouTube, then you get a little notification when I go live, whereas on Instagram you just kind of have to hang around and wait. So how are you? How is the day going? You well? Having a good day? I hope you are. It's all right if you're not, but I hope you are. We're going to do a bit of meditation now. This isn't a class, it's just a chance to meditate together. It's part of the further emergence work I do. Further emergence, what's that? Well, I'll explain all about that towards the end. But for now, if you're used to meditating, if you've got a nice little meditation practice, if you're experienced, great. Can you hang on for a minute while I explain what I do, just for the benefit of people who are new to meditation? There's lots of different styles of meditation. This is what I do. For me, it starts with why I would meditate. For me, I am trying to connect to a part of me that I connect to every night when I go to sleep. Not the dreaming bit, the bit after dreaming. So I'm sort of dreaming and then I drop at the bottom of dreaming into deep, dreamless sleep. And when I'm there, I have no thoughts, I've got no memories, no feelings, no emotions, no personality, no body, no bed, no bedroom. I've got nothing. I don't even have me. Like, I cease to exist, certainly in the way that I normally register my existence. So that all sounds awful, doesn't it? That sounds like death. Yet I love going to sleep. And when I wake up in the morning, I feel refreshed. So some part of me knows that wherever I go to, it's a good place. And that's where I want to go to when I meditate. I just want to do it consciously. So, first tip for if you're new to meditation, don't try this lying down, because you'll fall asleep, or a good chance you'll fall asleep. And if you don't fall asleep, you'll battle sleep, both of which are very distracting from what we're trying to do. So I'd encourage you to sit up. You don't have to sit in a lotus position unless you're comfortable sitting in a lotus position, in which case, great. I'm just sitting in a chair. If you're sitting in a chair, don't sit in a big comfy armchair, because you'll get into the falling asleep side of things again. So as I said, my mind, I've got no thoughts in this place, so it's a place my mind can't seem to go. It's a place my mind seems to have to wait outside the door of. So I've got to figure out something with my mind, some way of working with my mind, because most of the time my mind thinks it's running the show, and it's very, it's thinking. It likes to think, think and think and think. So what I do is I make an arrangement with my mind where I say, okay, I want to do some meditation. Could you just not think for the next 15 minutes? And my mind goes, oh yes, of course, I can do that. That's no problem. Now, the reason for that is it's really important to get your mind on board. If you're new to meditation, your mind will be on board, chances are, because it's something new. If you haven't meditated before, it's a new thing. So it's like, yay, great, something new, fantastic. Having your mind on board only becomes a kind of an issue when you're trying to make it meditate regularly, because after a while you probably would experience resistance. So I'm not going to get into that now. I can answer questions about it at the end if you're having a problem with that. But for now, I'll just say it's important to have your mind on board. So that's good. Mind is on board. Great. Next thing, stop thinking. That's not that hard, actually. It's not hard to stop thinking. Because number one, my mind is on board. It wants to. But then the other thing is that regardless of what I'm thinking about, which would be the content of my thoughts, the structure of my thoughts is always the same. It's always pictures and sound. So if I turn off the pictures and I turn off the sound, that's it. I'm not thinking. As soon as I do that, I'm into the practice of meditation. Now, the practice of meditation runs parallel with the intention of my meditation. The intention of my meditation is, as I said, to go to this deep, still, profound, possibly eternal, Zen-like, trying to think of all the other words that are used to describe meditation, you know, that place. The practice of meditation starts as soon as I stop thinking, and it pretty much goes, I'll turn off the pictures, I'll turn off the sound, I bring myself to not thinking. Then some time passes and I discover that I'm thinking again. Go, oh, I'm thinking, great. Turn off the pictures, turn off the sound, bring myself back to not thinking. Then some more time passes, I discover I'm thinking again. Oh, thinking again. Bring myself back to not thinking, turn off the pictures, turn off the sound. Then some more time passes, I discover I'm thinking again. Oh, I'm thinking again. And so on. So it's really simple. Every time I discover that I'm thinking, I bring myself back to not thinking by turning off the pictures and turning off the sound. And it's important to know that's how the practice goes, because it's easy to get the idea that to meditate properly, you can't be thinking at all. If you're thinking at all, you're doing it wrong. It's not the case. These two things go together, the intention and the practice, and they sort of do a little dance. Sometimes you'll be very deep and still in that sort of profoundly lovely place, and other times you'll be discovering that you're thinking. And then it's easy to get the misconception that when I'm in that deep still place, that's the good bit, and when I'm discovering I'm thinking, I've failed in some way and I'm rubbish at meditating. Not the case. Both are powerful in their own way. It's kind of obviously powerful when you're in that deep, still, profound place. You can feel your nervous system settling down. You might have a feeling of descent. It's great, and obviously great. When you're discovering that you're thinking, it's easy to have a feeling of a little bit of frustration, maybe. Oh, there I am thinking again, I'm doing it wrong. Not the case. Because what you're missing out on is there's a very subtle but very powerful thing going on every time you discover that you're thinking. And you bring yourself back to not thinking. Because if you're like me, the sort of things that you think about are all to do with you, your life, what's going on, your perspective. So, you know, I'll be thinking, what am I going to do about that thing? Why did I do that other thing? Why did I say that to that person? Why did that person say that to me? You know, those kind of thoughts. So let's say I'm in the middle of meditation and I'm in the middle of one of those thoughts. And I go, oh, I'm thinking. Turn off the pictures, turn off the sound, bring myself back to not thinking. Indirectly, what has just happened is, that indirectly I am telling myself or demonstrating to myself, you know that thought you just had, the one that you thought was you and that you were it, you know, it had lots of I, me, what am I going to do, you know, you just made that disappear. You just went, gone. So you're not that thought. You are not that thought. In fact, you are not any of your thoughts. You're something else. Okay, that's very powerful. And the fact that you do that repeatedly, that's very powerful. So both are good. Intention, practice, they go together, you know. One is not better than the other. So there's no right amount of times that you bring yourself back from thinking. You know, it's like, oh, well, 5 times is okay, but any more than that and I'm rubbish at meditating. No. Because that number changes day to day, and it even changes hour to hour. So you might meditate in the morning and, you know, only bring yourself back from thinking once or twice or 3 times or 5 times, right? And then you might meditate in the afternoon and you might have to bring yourself back 100 times. One is not better than the other. Okay? Once you know that, then it just frees you up to just get on with what you're actually doing, which is meditating. And your mind doesn't get involved in judging your meditation. Because if you hear any kind of commentary about how you're doing at your meditation, that's your mind. That's a thought. So you just bring yourself back to not thinking. Turn off the pictures, turn off the sound. The golden rule is, every time you discover that you're thinking, bring yourself back to not thinking. If you do that, you're doing great. Now, while all that's going on, I'm also becoming a little bit more conscious of my body, and I'm becoming a bit more aware of tension in my body. To do that, I scan my body from my head down to my feet, back up again, very slowly, very gently, and anywhere I find tension, I let it go. And I use my out-breath to let it go, because it's natural to just breathe it away, but it's also a really good way of bringing a little bit more consciousness to my breathing, because it's quite easy to hold your breath during meditation. So using the out-breath is a good way of avoiding that. The other thing I'm doing as I'm scanning my body up and down is I'm just spending a little bit more time on any structures in my body that go across or transverse on my body. Mostly my body runs longitudinally, head to toe. Anywhere that goes across, it acts a little bit like a log going across a stream. You know, it just sort of picks up all the twigs and the branches and the leaves and anything else that's coming down the stream. Except in my body, it's tension. So I'm spending a bit more time on my eyes. They're a transverse site. My jaw, my tongue, the base of my neck, my shoulder girdle. All my joints are transverse sites, so a little bit of time on my shoulders, elbows, wrists, fingers. My heart area is a transverse site. My respiratory diaphragm, that's an obvious one. All my intestines, lots of transverse going on there. My pelvic floor, my hips, my knees, my ankles, and my toes. Having a nice quiet room is very helpful when you're starting out meditation, because one of the things that triggers thoughts is noise. And as soon as you close your eyes to meditate, your hearing is like going to amplify. So the quieter the room, the less you're going to be disturbed, the better. The other thing I do to help me have less things to think about is I set a timer for how long I'm going to meditate for. Now I'm going to set my timer for 15 minutes, but I'd encourage you to set yours for shorter if you're new to meditation. So maybe set it for 5 minutes and repeat that 3 times. Because 15 minutes is a long time if you're not used to it. Okay. Off we go then into the mystery. All right, if you feel like you've gone very deeply inside yourself, take a minute to come back from there before you open your eyes. Or if you feel like you can hold the inner space and the outer space at the same time, then just open your eyes. And if when you do that you feel like you've lost connection with the inner space, you can just close your eyes again, reconnect. Oh yeah, there it is. Open your eyes again. Oh no, nearly lost it. And close it. You can use your eyes like a valve to balance the inner space and the outer space. Now, as I said at the beginning, these meditations are part of the further emergence work I do. If you're wondering what further emergence is, it's to do with growth, inner growth, growth in consciousness. You could call it spiritual growth, growth in awareness, all that sort of growth. Because your body stops growing when you're an adult, but you keep growing on the inside. That doesn't stop. You only have to think about who you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, to it's kind of obvious that we keep growing. And just like when you were a child, you might have gone through a period of accelerated growth in your body, you know, they're called growth spurts. Those growth spurts happen on the inside as well. And because you keep growing for the rest of your life, you keep going through growth spurts for the rest of your life. And if you were going through a growth spurt when you were a child and you had growing pains and you went to your parents and you were like, oh, I've got pains in my legs or wherever you had them, your parents wouldn't rush you to hospital. They wouldn't bring you to the doctor. They'd just say, oh, that's terrible. They're growing pains and it's natural. They'll pass. It's the same with inner growth spurts, except there's a much bigger space to feel like there's something wrong or that it's not natural and you're broken in some way or another. Particularly, you know, if you're 40 or 50 or 30 or 20, you know, and you're going through this difficult inner growth spurt. It can be very disorienting and it can be hard to see it for what it is. It's just a natural thing. So that's the focus of further emergence, is on those inner growth spurts and to sort of help with them, because they can be difficult, painful, can manifest in all sorts of different ways. I've been through it myself many times and I've helped a lot of people through them over the years as well. So these daily meditations help because the more familiar you are with your inner landscape, the easier it is to navigate inner growth spurts. So meditation is just a great way of helping yourself at that, going through these and helping yourself in advance, because if you get used to meditating and you get used to your inner space, then when you start to go into further emergence, it's just easier. There's also a further emergence group that meets every Friday, a Zoom group. So today in about 40 minutes, 50 minutes, and they're a chance to meditate in a bit more depth, to get feedback, reflection, there's questions, answers, and it's also a chance to look around and go, oh, I'm not the only one going through this. There's other people. Because one of the things that can happen when you go through further emergence is, you know, you can almost overnight go from, hey, my life is great, everything's going well. I mean, it's not brilliant, but it's going well. I know who I am in my life. There's my life. It's great. Everyone gets me. I get everyone. It's all brilliant. That kind of can almost flip, where you go, I don't really recognize myself anymore. I don't recognize myself in my life. I don't seem to fit. Nobody gets me anymore. I don't really get anybody anymore. It can feel very lonely and isolating and disorienting. So seeing that there are other people, hearing other people, what they're going through, you can go, oh, okay, I'm not on my own with this. So there's video of those Zoom groups if you want to look at those, if you want to see what they're like. And then the audio from those go to make up the podcast, the Further Emergence podcast. So you can sort of listen in on those as well, and to previous ones, because we've been doing them for a good while. I see people for 1-to-1 sessions as well. Do that twice a week. Don't see a huge amount of people. Can't see a huge amount of people. And that's a combination of, I think of it as in front of the scenes and behind the scenes work. The in front of the scenes work is talking, reflection, you know, sharing how it's what it looks like it's going on, and because it's such a personal thing for the emergence. It manifests in people in different ways, so it's more of a tailored kind of feedback for what's going on for a person. And then the behind the scenes work is where I work on the person system energetically to help their system harmonize, to be as harmonious in the process as possible. So that's the one-to-one. What else? I've written 4 books, all in or around the subject of further emergence as well. So there's loads there for you. Now, if you're still here, if you're still with me, if you've watched all the way to the end, maybe there's some voice inside going, no, there's something to this, or something's resonating with you about what I'm saying, what I'm talking about. So I'd encourage you to just let that part of you, whatever part of you is communicating, whatever part of you made you stay till the end, I'd let that communicate to you what the next thing for you to do is, whether that's just to keep coming to the meditations, whether it's to watch a Zoom group video, listen to the podcast, come to a Zoom group. You're very welcome to come to the Zoom group. It's open to everybody. The link for the Zoom group is on the website, furtheremergence.com. Just look for Zoom groups. You'll find the Zoom link. Boom. Or what maybe that voice is saying to you, get in touch for some one-to-one work, or read a book, or one of the books I've written, or none of the above. And that's all fine. So it'll know what to do. Okay, so just let it tell you what to do. It'll know the right thing to do for you. So thanks.